For lesson 8, we are going to be working with APIs. And we will be using a lot of the techniques to process the APIs that we covered last week. So last week you kind of learned how to create your own JSON files and how to process those files. And this week you will be accessing those files at different company websites. And you'll be pulling that data into your own page and processing and displaying it. You will also learn how to use local and session storage, which are now part of HTML5. It used to be that we had to do quite a bit of coding to store data and share it amongst our pages. And now it has become much easier with HTML5. So you'll be learning how to use both local and session storage, which may come in handy when you are developing your games. And you will also learn how to use HTML5 Canvas. You are going to be going through a W3 Schools tutorial to create a game. So you're going to start by reading chapter 9 in the book, and then you're going to go through the chapter 9 key concepts. And you will notice that I have videos on each section of this lecture demo. So you can watch the video, or you can kind of read through independently, or you can do both. But we start with APIs, and you have been using a couple APIs already, even though you may not have realized it. And then I have examples of different corporate sites that have APIs. And most companies do provide information for developers, data that developers can access. And the way you access that data is through a RESTful API. And so they have different developer portals. And literally what I do if I want to see if there is a developer portal, in fact, I just added Warner Brothers because what I Googled was Warner Brothers Developer API. And the very first link was to their developer portal. And not all developer sites are really good for beginners. Some have just a ton of documentation, which is awesome. Other ones don't have as much. Some require that you get free accounts. Most will let you access the API free, or they give you a certain number of accesses per month free. So you always want to make sure you read through the documentation so you know what they're expecting from you. And the documentation will also indicate if there is a key that you need to get from them in order to use the API. And you can see Warner Brothers right up front is telling you that you have to sign up, but they will issue you a key, and then you can start using it. And this site does have some developer support, and they have some documentation. Okay, but you do have to sign up and get a key. There are other ones that don't require that. And which API you decide to use, is going to be dependent on how comfortable you are signing up at these various sites. But I did include some different sites that you can take a look at. And these are all developer API sites. And then we do get into, well, what exactly is a RESTful API? And how does this process work? And then I've got some examples. And again, these are different API sites. These are actually sites that I have used and created applications that access them. So you can actually take a look at 3 different applications that I created from these sites. For the weather map, which is yet another site I have created an application for, this one does require that you get a key, but it's a pretty easy process and it is free. Here is the app that I created and here's the code. And at the top, that link to the lecture demo for APIs explains what the code is doing. Google Fonts is great, or Google Charts is great because you do not need a key. Okay, so you don't have to have a key and it doesn't require billing information. So a lot of students choose to use this one. And I've got a couple different examples using Google Charts. And again, that link up at the top walks through what the code is doing. And if you are interested in doing other types of charts besides a pie chart or a column chart, I have a link to a site that goes through all of the different chart types. And then once we get done with APIs, we're going to talk a little bit about HTML5 storage. Yeah, how do you store data and how do you retrieve that stored data? And there's local storage and there is session storage. Okay, we talk about the difference between the two. And then we get into HTML5 Canvas. And there are quite a few games created using HTML5 Canvas, which is why we are covering it. So Canvas is an HTML element. However, once you have created the canvas, everything that you do with Canvas requires using JavaScript. So yes, it is called HTML5 Canvas, but all of the coding is done on the JavaScript end. So this goes through how to create a skeleton template and then how to draw lines and circles and rectangles and all of that fun stuff. And then I've got links to W3 schools so you can try it all live. And as you go through here, there's lots of examples. And these are live examples. This code that I have shown here is what is being used to create, these different designs. So there is lots of things you can do with Canvas. And at the bottom, I do have links to a little art gallery, a tutorial on how to make a Canvas game, some additional examples, a link to a video created using a Canvas game. So lots of resources. And then once you're done with that, you are going to come in and work on the programming assignment. The programming assignment starts with creating a logo using Canvas. So you're going to create your own logo. This is what I did. And you can see it's not, it's basically, 2 triangles that I put gradients on, a little circle that I kind of duplicated and some text. So not super complicated. Take some shapes, put them together, create your logo. You need to come up with your own logo. I do not want you to just duplicate mine. So create your own. But I did provide the code that I used to create this. So you can see, and this is all the circle code, which I basically duplicated and then adjusted the location of the circle. Create a form that stores 4 pieces of information in local storage. So I've got some sample code here. I've also got a form for you to look at. Should look somewhat familiar. It's a reuse of something from the 180 class. The difference is it is going to be storing this data in local storage. Okay. And so when I submit this, you'll notice that the action says local confirm. So when it gets submitted, it's automatically going to go over to a confirmation page. And the JavaScript down here is where it gets saved to local storage. When they hit the submit button, it's going to run through this code and save the data. And then you'll see that, again, it is going to the local confirm page right here. The local confirm page, if I went and filled this out, what the local confirm page does is it reads in that local storage data and displays it. So if I go to the view page source, you can see that it is now accessing the local storage data. And it's basically checking to see if something is there. And if it is, then it is filling in the variables. And I start by initializing those variables to blank. Okay, and then I check, because if they are still blank, that means they didn't register. And I basically tell them they have to register, and I reroute them to the form. And as long as they registered, then I display the information. So that is basically what you need to do for exercise 2. Exercise 3, you can basically save each one of these under a different name, save them as session form, HTML, session form JS, and session confirm. And then all you have to do is modify where it says local storage, you change it to session storage. And you have to make sure that you do it in the JavaScript for the form, for the local form, but also you have to change the JavaScript in the confirmation. And that is where people go wrong on this particular exercise. They remember to do it in the form, but they don't remember to do it in the confirmation. And you have to do it in both places. Once you get done with that, you are going to find and use a simple API. If you are not comfortable asking for a key or doing all of that, you certainly can use Google Map or Google Chart for this exercise. Do not use Google Font, but Google Map, Google Chart, all of that is okay. Any of the APIs I used is okay, but you do need to make it your own. So, don't just right click on this and copy my code, because that really isn't learning, that is copying. So there are a lot of different things that you can access through the open weather. In fact, I am writing to the council here. So, if we do a display, it defaults to Traverse City. And you can go into the developer council. And here's the object that is coming from Open Weather Map. And so there's a lot of different things that, you have the ability to display besides what I displayed. Okay, you've got latitude and longitude, all sorts of different things. So this last exercise is find and use a simple API. If you are choosing to use an API that I have never used, I may not be able to help you that much without spending time digging into the developer site. I am not familiar with every single API on the web. So I'm familiar with the ones that I've used. And so if you can't figure it out, you may want to use one that is a little simpler. And then do not forget that you still need to be working on your term project. The first milestone is due on the 14th. And for students who are in the live stream class on Monday, the 14th, we will present live during class and I will videotape the presentations. So all you need to do, you being students who choose to attend, all you really have to do is go into the discussion and post a link to your site. And that's about it, because once class is over, I will post the video for you. If you are online and are not attending the live stream class, then you will need to do your own video. Okay, and that needs to be posted by the 14th so that the next week you can all look at each other's videos and sites and provide feedback to at least 4. If you run into problems or if you have questions, please let me know, and have an awesome week.